They have about 919 clubs. The annual revenue of these, top line revenue is about 328 million. 31 million EBITDA, and that's a little bit high. They have about 7 million members per club. This breaks down to about 357K, 22K EBITDA, and about 7,000 members per club. The average cost to open is about 1.5 million. The company that's closest to what I do is the Boutique Fitness. This is about a 20,000 square foot facility. This is about a 5,000 square foot facility. That's where I'm at right now. And so I'm looking for the biggest boutique groups in my field. So 5,000 square feet and above. Their top line revenue for classes, 2014 was 93 million. Their product revenue, which a lot of clubs don't have a product category, but that's a big profitable thing for us. And we have lots of strategic partnerships to have that be another way to employ full-time front desk staff, which a lot of yoga studios don't have and boutique fitnesses don't have. So the total revenue, top line revenue is 112 million approximately. EBITDA is 26 million. They have 36 studios and about 50,000 members. So the numbers are a lot smaller here, but they're much bigger here per facility. Average per studio, they do 3.1 million. They have about, their EBITDA is 778,000 per year, so pretty good, about 20%. And they have about 1,400 members. Now the deal that I'm looking at is in Washington State. 2017 top line revenue is about 1.4 million. EBITDA is about 138, and then this year, year to date, it's about 1.7. They'll probably pop 1.8. EBITDA is about 153. A couple of things on this: the owner's drawing about $60,000 a year salary, and they're not really. They have a manager, a studio manager, and they're just doing some marketing things and just other bullshit. And then they're also drawing about 90K in other expenses for themselves. Those will go away after a deal is done. Okay. So the adjusted EBITDA would be this 153K plus 30, because I'm going to need to give the current manager a bonus or have a a joint managership thing, restructuring, and then the draw will go away as well. So that will pop the adjusted EBITDA to about 270K. Now purchase price. This is where it was like I never thought about it, so I had to come up with something. And we started off at about $500,000, and we were talking about maybe about 600K. That's about 3 times EBITDA. So bank finance. Banks are kind of weird in this industry because they don't see a lot of deals in my field, but they said, let us look at the numbers. We'll see how we feel about it. It's kind of close to these retail industries and whatnot, but ballpark 3 to 5 times EBITDA is the range. So at 3 times EBITDA, I'd be at about 428K on a 70% bank finance. I could restructure this deal where I go more like 60% bank finance and 30% and 40% owner finance, or I could also try to push this number up to include my fees for accounting, attorney fees and whatnot, and working capital, which I'm going to need at least 1 month working capital. And that would put the bank loan at about 560K. To service that loan will be about 120,000 per year at a 6% rate on a 5-year term. And then I would do the owner financing. If I kept it at 70-30, that would be about 183K, and that would be about 30,000 per year to pay that off. I could start that in the second year or even in the first year. And so we did the numbers here, and we still had, after debt service, a positive cash flow of about 110K.
Okay. In terms of the fees and the working capital, what's usually is that just a negotiation, I guess, with the bank where we say, like Alec was saying, so if they say we're going to lend you a maximum of, for example, 4 to 8, or is it just we're going to lend you 428 for the valuation, and then you can negotiate more for the fees and working capital?
Well, I mean, every bank's different, but as I said, you know, you can either have it as all in as part of the financing for the deal, including working capital and fees. It's got to, when you're going to have the bank finance, the fees have to be included. But what I would do is I negotiate as high as I could for the deal, and then, oh, by the way, I also need an overdraft. I also need a line of credit, and then and normally the rule of thumb again is about 10% of the revenue. So if the revenue was 1.5, 1.78, so you get maybe squeezing for maybe a $200,000
working capital.
Line of credit. Okay, but I try to get the working capital. I want to have the working capital and the fees in the overall loan as long as it's covered by debt service. It's covered by the cash flow. And then, oh, by the way, of course, I need you can't run a business without a line of credit. So, and then, well, sometimes they'll be smart. You knew that before when you were hammering me over here. I mean, this is the first acquisition I've ever made. I don't know anything. I can't say that because I can't get away with that, but I mean, you can.
Is that common? Because I know I'm probably going to bump into this a lot, where the owner's drawing a salary or something, or draws living on the business. And
most of the businesses they're going to be living off.
Yeah. So would that then, because that would go away, depending on what the management structure is?
But you're still going to have somebody take that place.
Yeah. So,
it may not be at a higher rate.
Yeah.
But so I mean, don't evaporate it or don't make it go away because you're going to have to replace that person.
So that's what I did here. Because they're drawing 60, I took half of that. So I'm probably going to need to at least employ one person about $2,500 a month in some sort of either additional supervisor or secondary person there to help with the management of the facility. Mm-hmm. And then, but that would then help my adjusted EBITDA pop a little bit more just because of the restructuring. It should balance out.
They all work out on paper.
Yeah.
They all work out on paper, Again, I've never seen a business plan fail on paper. I'm sure maybe someday I will, but I haven't seen one.
Could you say that? So you said line of credit. What was the other term that you used?
Overdraft. In this country, it's overdraft.
What
do you call it in South Africa?
It's called overdraft.
Overdraft.
Yeah. And the U.S. is the line of credit.
Yeah.
Or an overdraft. Yes. They call it both.
Okay.
If you say overdraft, they know what you mean in U.S.
Yeah, and but I mean, a lot of businesses that you're going to see have no line of credit, and so
and that's a problem too. Like with the product, I didn't put it on here, but with like SoulCycle, when they're bigger companies, they have operating capital. Therefore, they can buy the product because a lot of these companies don't have the money to buy product. Let it sit on the shelf for 30 days and then wait for the money to come back. Maybe 6 weeks.
But can't you get it on consignment?
No, you got to buy it outright, which is fine. You can sell it. It's easy to do if you have a full-time front of house person, guest services person that's offering these goods to the members. But again, a lot of these companies are not liquid enough or have the operating capital to float that, because it's going to be about at least 30-day window before you see, you're going to double your money, but it's going to be a 30-day window before you see a return on your investment. And so that can definitely help increase your revenue and allow you to create a better experience for the individual taking class, because a lot of times they just check themselves in, or there's a teacher there and there's no one really there to participate in the sales process or in any boutique sales.
My issue, Mr. Peña, is we establish a relationship with the bank, a banking relationship. You negotiate interest, everything across the board, and you find yourself with a transaction. You receive, you put together a one-page investment teaser, and you throw it to 5 banks, right? Say among the 5, 2 are your state-owned enterprises or finance institutions. And those guys, they don't have a banking relationship. They don't have branches. They don't have um, uh, they don't have commercial banking capability. Now, how do I find myself now having to negotiate with a new financier? Because my bank, when they looked at the deal, they said, we can do it at this much times EBITDA, and this will be your contribution. And when you compare that versus the other financial institution seems to be more favorable.
But it doesn't have other commercial capabilities.
Yes.
Well,
I'm talking now. My question goes back to, I need to build that banking relationship. I said to that bank, look, you give us favorable terms and everything. We will have a relationship with you. I'll bring all the deals to you. However, I bring one transaction, it doesn't work out. And now I find myself now having to deal with a state-owned enterprise. Development bank, for instance, that's giving me, it's got a soft underbelly type of interest and interest rates and favorable terms. Now, the whole point of the QLA, I'm thinking to myself, was to have a good banking relationship.
Correct. Well, you got to tell the bank, I want to do business with you, but you're not giving me everything I need.
Yes.
Remember, when you're interviewing the banks, the board is taking the decision that we're going to look at all our professional relationships, accounting, legal, and banking. And currently our bank relationship is we have a deposit relationship, meaning we deposit money and they may or may not give us service. We're interviewing now that we need these services. I came to you with that idea, and now I'm having to go to another bank because you're not be able to give me the terms that I need. I'm going to have to either use two banks, which I don't want to do, or you're going to, I need you to soften your approach toward my banking relationship with you. Put it on the line. Tell them this is the way it is. But if push comes to shove, to do the banking with the state-owned bank and the other banks, say that I can't give you all that business because of the terms that you haven't been able to give me, and you know whether you understand or not, really not important. I have to use another bank.
Yes. And what I've also found out as well, I was discussing this with Marcus last night because he wanted to understand how I get to deal with these different state-owned enterprises, not enterprises but state-owned financial institutions. Is that they finance, they have a different sector mandate, right? You find that for agricultural purposes, for instance, there will be a European agricultural fund. For infrastructure, there will be an African infrastructure development fund. You find yourself now having to, because we are building a conglomerate from our perspective, I have to deal with all these different multi-sectoral finance institutions because it makes sense for me to talk to a financier that understands agriculture than my bank now, because my bank is commercial. Yes, it's one of the top 4, but I put an agricultural deal on their desk and they say, no, we don't do this.
Well, and when you build a conglomerate, that's one of the additional challenges that other people don't have, is because you're in multi-group
sectors.
Yeah, sectors. So unless you find a bank that deals with them across the board, and like Citibank does deal with them across the board in America, and but if they don't have that capability in South Africa, then you're just going to have to deal with more than one bank.
They tend, from a commercial perspective, Mr. Peña, they do have the different divisions that look at the different sectors. But if you look at that one particular sector versus a European fund on agriculture, and I go to my commercial bank and
you're not going to get as good a deal.
So I don't get a good deal as what I'll get there.
Well, then you're going to have to use the other bank.
I've always tried to use this the terms that I got from these guys as a negotiating arm, because
sure.
There might be a sweetener working with them, but it's going to be longer.
Mm-hmm.
Because by virtue of them being state-owned and all of that shit, they will take up to six months, which is what we are going through at the moment. What was supposed to be 4 months now is 6 months, because by the end of February, they're saying they're signing off the funds. for the dairy farm. And when we took that to the bank looked at it and said, okay, fine, I can't finance based on just the cash flow. I need to look at I need the security. Yes, I want the assets as well. I want to attach the assets as part of collateral. And my business partner says, yeah, we can do that. But and then if you look at what the state-owned institution says and what these guys are saying, it's just no-brainer where we must go.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Well, but it's a no-brainer, but it's taking 6 months.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mr. Peña, one more thing on this deal here. There's about $50K in debt. Would I work on negotiating that off the purchase price and then pay that down once the loan's funded?
Is there any cash?
Yeah, there's about $40K in the account.
Okay, and are you buying the assets or are you buying a company?
There's not a whole lot of assets.
No, but I mean, are you buying the corporate entity, Inc., or are you buying just,
Yeah, the ink.
okay, the Inc.? Well, that means you've got past, current, and future liabilities.
Yeah.
Are they current with their taxes?
Yes.
Okay, well then I would try and tell you, you know, you want to keep the cash, and I'd reduce the purchase price by the debt.
I have a question about that. So, when you're buying a corporate entity, you have the asset versus the whole entity where you leave. I take on the liabilities, you leave in the assets and the cash. But if it's not a corporate entity, it's I don't know, LLC, an S corp, something like that. Do you always purchase it on a debt-free, cash-free basis?
Well, the cleanest is you keep the cash, you keep the debt. I buy the assets. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's the
They're gonna want to keep the cash.
Yeah.
Okay. They want, or they'll just strip out the cash.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they'll leave you with the debt. But the cleanest on an asset purchase is they take the cash and the debt.
Okay.